Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Zach Barney, co-founder and CEO at Mobley. Zach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. Happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you, Zach. Let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I am a risk taker by nature. So, yeah, I grew up in Utah primarily. And right out of school, I had a couple of physical setbacks with some knee injuries and a couple of other things while simultaneously getting married. So I finished school and needed a job really quick. I just fell into a bootstrap startup helping run sales and fell in love with sales. So been doing that my whole career, primarily very early stage stuff, either as hire number one or at least sales hire number one. Took a bit of a detour from that a few years ago. Spent 3 years at a publicly traded company running their US sales. And then 3 years in private equity as a drop-in sales operator for our portcos, and then ultimately started Mobley about a year and a half ago.
Wow, I love that. So, yeah, so from kind of bootstrap small companies up to huge public companies to
Yeah.
PE, now running your own company. So, love that background. So, yeah, let's talk about Mobley. Tell us about the products and services that Mobley offers.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand that with my background as a now a recovering VP of sales, I like to say you don't move up in sales leadership unless you are a data driven person, unless you can look at, understand metrics and derive actions from those metrics to get the results that you want. And I found, especially as I grew up in my employers and worked for larger companies with bigger budgets, that we would be spending a lot of money in the field at conferences, events, on-site travel. And all of the discipline that I had built in my team just completely fell apart when they didn't have their laptops right in front of them. So field sales rep going out and shaking hands and kissing babies, it is like pulling teeth to get them to log their activities and to update their pipeline. As a result, it's really hard to forecast off of them. It's really hard to replicate them. And if they leave the company, you lose their pipeline too. And then I found an even bigger pain around trade shows and events. It's just such an old, antiquated process that most companies deal with renting badge scanners if they're exhibiting at a trade show. And then they have to sort of learn a new system, train their team, scan badges, and then all they get is crappy registration data. Very little info, lots of burner accounts and typos, and it doesn't integrate with anything. So as a result, there's just this massive process of start to finish that takes the average company 11 days before leads are back in the hands of a salesperson to follow up with. And I was just blown away by how antiquated that process is. So decided to fix it with Moobly. We're a universal lead capture, enrichment, and engagement application that our users can literally take anywhere from sitting next to somebody on an airplane to a big giant event like Dreamforce and everything in between. You can scan any badge, any business card, or just type in the person's name and company. We enrich the data, push it to your CRM, and allow you to follow up from the app with that activity logging back to your CRM.
Wow, I love that. So, really, so those sales reps who are in the field a lot, and just helping and facilitate that process. So they still have that discipline, like you said, instead of up here in their head and then they
Yeah,
just leave or forget to put it in, and that could be a valuable lead. You're just making it easier for them in the field to get it back into your CRM system.
correct. Yeah. At the PE firm that I worked at, I had a fantastic rep. He was one of the best salespeople I've ever worked with, did close to 200% of his number a few years ago. And I just remember thinking, I have no way to replicate this guy. Salesforce shows me a 90% win rate. And it's not that he was a bad egg. It's not like he wasn't a team player. He was just out in the field all the time. And that is a cumbersome process to put new contacts in, to update your forecast. So he wouldn't do anything until they asked for a contract, and almost every single one of them closed. It was great. We killed our number, but it didn't tell the accurate story. And that's just a big pain from a GTM leadership perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And tell me about your ideal customer profile. Who are you
Yeah.
targeting with Mobley?
So right now, I mean, the product's still very early. We have some big visions. Right now, we are selling to event marketers primarily, sometimes demand gen and RevOps as well. And the big reason why is the average 100-person B2B company, they go to over 40 events every single year, and they already have budget set aside to pay for lead retrieval. They hate it, and they don't have long-term contracts. So helping them reposition that already existing budget that they have to spend over to something that they actually like using and can use consistently is a pretty big no-brainer for them.
Okay.
We tend Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
We tend to sell to companies that have at least 50 employees. We don't try to go too upmarket on true enterprise yet. We're getting our SOC 2 certification, but we don't like jumping through a lot of enterprise hoops yet. We're a small and nimble team, and we primarily sell to US and Canada-based companies.
Okay. Okay. So 50 plus employees, use Canada. And then as far as say the demand gen team or
Mhm.
RevOps team, is the ROI there for these guys if just one person is on your application, or do you need a couple for it to make sense?
The bigger issue is less about the number of users and more about how many people their team is capturing. So, I mean, there are so many ways to look at the ROI. Offsetting costs that's already there. Yes, that's one. I would argue that the biggest one is speed to lead. If we can help a company take their time from handshake to when a rep is able to follow up from 11 days and shrink that down to 11 minutes, then their win rate goes through the roof. So it's been a super easy sale, even for small teams. They might have 50 people and only 2 or 3 users. It still makes sense for them because if we can help them with that speed to lead, win 1, 2 extra deals a year, then our cost is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And I'm not a marketer, but I love some of the
Sure.
lingo here. Speed to lead, 11 days to 11 minutes. Yeah, lot to sell there. So, and is this, I assume, is this a mobile app as well as website application then?
It's primarily mobile. The end
Okay.
users only use the mobile app. We're available on iOS and Android, and then from the admin side, there's a client portal where they can log in, create their event, create their users, attach them to set events, and then put in custom kind of survey questions that show up in the app for their users when they meet somebody new.
Okay. Yeah, great. Makes a ton of sense. So you're still pretty new. So founded in 2023.
Yeah, January of last year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, and then we talked, so Utah background, is the company located in Utah?
We're in Lehi, Utah, literally like a stone's throw away from the neighborhood my co-founder and I grew up in. And that's now like the heart of all tech innovation in the state, which is it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on in Utah. And then what's your current team size?
So we've got just about a dozen people, a little bit higher than that. A couple of them are interns part time, and have a few more full timers starting in the next few weeks.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So great to have you interns. What role do the interns play?
So the way Mobley works, when I capture a lead, if I scan somebody's badge or business card at an event, what happens is we don't tie into the events API. Instead, we use optical character recognition to read the image on the badge, convert it to text, and then we serve as the data provider, going through several of our data partners to enrich and build that lead and verify it through like a data waterfall. The last step of that is a live human sees it and checks that the OCR is accurate, that if you manually entered it, you didn't have any misspellings and so forth. So they clean it up and ensure the quality is there. And simultaneously, they're training our models to get smarter and better on the optical character recognition. So those humans, that's a team of 5 analysts. We have 1 full-time, 4 part-time that are all finishing up degrees, in many cases, master's degrees in like information systems that really like getting into big data and model training.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And I know it's early in your journey,
Mhm.
2023.
Yeah,
So are you revenue generating or pre-revenue right now?
we are. No, we've got right around 40 customers right now. We got our first LOIs about a week after incorporating. We went to a little event on a whim and threw up a banner that said badge scanners suck, try Mobley, and beta coming soon or something like that. And yeah, we signed 4 LOIs then, got our first actual paying customers April of last year. So we're about a year into having revenue.
Okay, all right, that's great. And then currently, tell us a little bit about your early stage go to market motion? You mentioned going to events or
Mhm.
trade shows, but how are you finding your prospects right now?
So definitely blended, but we just hired our first 2 sales reps in the middle of December. So we're 4 months in with them. Up until then, especially, it was largely my co-founder and I being super loud on LinkedIn. We both have pretty exhaustive networks, especially me with just the SaaS sales world. So posting regularly about a pain that hits home for a lot of people in my network, we got quite a few inbound leads from that. And then, yeah, going to events, even if we couldn't afford to exhibit and just walking the trade show floor and eating our own dog food, somebody would ask to scan our badge, and we say, well, you could look at what we do and watch this, and let's have a scan off and show them how Mobley works, blow their minds, and generate business like that. We've got a podcast, and honestly, that's been about it until recently. And now we just started doing some outbounding and regular webinars, a little bit of SEO, but really that's mostly organic up until the past few months.
Okay. Then yeah, I love that. You can go to trade shows and just hit every single booth along the line and say, "Oh, by the way, yeah, I love that."
Yeah. We actually just got back from the Emblaze Digital Now Revenue Summit, formerly AAISP. Say that 5 times fast. It's terrible former name. I love the group. I'm glad they rebranded to Emblaze, but their revenue summit in Chicago last week, it's one of those conferences where the format is everybody is actually in sessions, and then during meals and breaks, they have 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the exhibitor area to grab food, coffee, whatever. So what we did is anytime people were in sessions, we would just walk around to the other exhibitors and network with them, and it was just a natural conversation. By the end of the event, there were 8 or 9 exhibitors that were actively testing out Mobley at the event, right with us, so that we could go troubleshoot things and train them, whatever.
That's great. I love that. And then switching to the fundraising side, looks like you raised a 2.5 million seed round. Is that right?
Yeah, we raised just shy of 450 in angel round last summer, and then just closed our official seed round about 8 weeks ago.
Okay. And then with that seed round of 2.5 million, were there triggers or milestones or what led you to that seed raise?
Well, we have some early signs of a pretty strong product market fit. What our lead investor likes to say is we don't have product market fit yet because we haven't been through a full revenue cycle, but we definitely have concept market fit. Like people are buying, the interest is there. So in order to prove that out and to just validate that this is a real thing and take advantage of the market with people coming back to events at an all-time high, we needed to pour some money in there and get a little fuel on the sales fire, as well as beef up the dev team to build a little bit of product defensibility.
Okay. Okay. And then for other founders listening who may be thinking about that seed round, any lessons learned that you'd like to pass along to them that you learned in that seed round?
But yeah, I have 2. Number 1, don't get cocky and think that you're an outlier when it comes to just the general seed round or the fundraising metrics. They say it's like 1 yes for every 100 meetings. We got 2 yeses in 96 meetings, and thankfully had some optionality between a couple of great investors. And then we also had to meet with another 60 or 70 follow-ons to fill the round. So it is a slog. It is a full-time job. Don't think that you're the exception to the rule. Like, run a process and meet with everybody you possibly can would be number 1. Number 2, we made one mistake and thankfully didn't have to pay for it too dearly. Once we signed the term sheet, we figured the follow-ons would come quick, and we wanted to show continued progress and revenue. So that's when we went out and hired our sales team, and our burn just went like that really quick, even though the round wasn't closed yet. So it came time like a week or 2 before we closed, where we're like, well, crap, if this stalls, if it doesn't come through, if this one follow-on investor doesn't come in, then we are like completely out of money. I've put so much money into it. My co-founders put so much money into it. We've maxed out HELOCs on our houses, everything. Like, we don't have more money to put into this, and we're gonna be in a world of hurt if we can't make payroll in a week and a half. All we had to do was wait a few more weeks to make the hires until the round closed, and we didn't do that. Thankfully, everything closed okay, but I definitely had 4 true panic attacks because of that, and it was not pretty.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I love that you kept those stats because we hear a lot. Yeah, it takes a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, but 2 out of 96 yeses, and then great advice about not yeah, not starting to burn some money until that full round is closed. So appreciate
Yep.
that insight. And Zach, at this stage of your business, do you have a favorite number or metric that you're focused on to guide the business?
For us, it's a couple of things. So one that's unique to us is the number of scans or leads added to our database. It shows adoption, right? So we track that on a weekly basis. How big is the database increasing by? Is that number accelerating? Is it holding stagnant, decreasing, whatever? So that's a big one. And then from just kind of a North Star guidance, it's definitely revenue. We have some solid revenue targets, and at this early of a stage, we have our hypotheses about what our average deal size is, what our sales cycle length is, and everybody knows that it's an educated guess at best. But you're trying to operate as best you can to it so that you have predictability in the future. So for us, we're like, okay, we think it's going to be this, but what matters most is we hit this revenue target. If that means our deal size is half as big and we need to close twice as many, so be it. But this is our revenue target that we have to hit by the end of the year.
Yep, love that because we know, and especially as a CFO forecasting, a lot of forecasts or estimates based on the best available data at that time, and then we
Yeah.
continue to update that over time. So things change. Well, Zach, really appreciate your time today. As we wrap up, what's coming up next for Mobley?
Well, we have a couple of big events. So we've got an event, actually back-to-back events in Vegas. We have the Experiential Marketing Summit at the end of April and Event Tech Live first week of May. So a lot of that, and then some on the product rollout side of things, some pretty big releases both on the mobile app and on the client portal side of things that'll just make usability a bit more easy for our users.
Okay, yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up. So, Zach, really appreciate your time sharing your experiences
Yeah.
today. If listeners would like to learn more about Mobley, where should we send them online?
So they can go to getmobly.com, getmobly.com, or just connect with me. If you search Zach Barney, I am the one with a cell phone little emoji right in front of my name. That's how it's easy to differentiate me from anybody else.
Yep, I saw that. So easy to find Zach on LinkedIn and then check out getmobley.com if you'd like to learn more about Mobley and what Zach's doing. So again, Zach, really appreciate you sharing your time and your experience today.
Yeah, thanks, man.